It seems to me we've got a choice, haven't we? And it's a choice not just about how we travel, but a choice about how we shape our city, how the city feels and works, how it's calmer, like we saw in the pandemic, when it was quieter, when we could hear the birds. We were actually much nicer to each other because we could meet each other, we could speak, and we weren't dominated by car noise and pollution. That's a nicer city to live in. It's not just about travel, it's about the look and feel of our city.
We started our campaign in lockdown when it was much easier to walk and cycle around the city, and that's what we're trying to hold on to. So our original plan was to have car-free days in the city where people could experience the streets without cars. If you want to get people to come into the city centre, we want people walking in and cycling in because the number of cars rising is unsustainable. 10 million more cars in the last 30 years, so we can't carry on like that. So we want to try and get people walking and cycling into the city. Anything to improve that, like the improvements in Queen Street, is a very good thing as far as we're concerned. And also things like the 4th Street Flea, of course.
Yeah, and actually during the lockdown we saw people build confidence and feel safe on the roads, and that's something we want to regain and maintain momentum because it is a massive public health issue.
Our vision is about getting more people cycling, and that's by affordable bikes and putting more refurbished bikes back into the environment.
We also run loads of bike maintenance workshops and bring your own bikes, doctor bikes, all with the aim of making sure your bike is really in a good state to ride and teaching yourself, so empowering everyone to be able to look after their own bikes, hopefully make it more enjoyable for people to cycle and safer.
So come on down.
And what is it that enables people to cycle and to choose to cycle, to have this choice for their city? It's not the weather, it's not the gradients. No, it's simply that they have built a comprehensive, connected and convenient network of cycle paths in the city.
It's really exciting to be here at the Respect Festival, and what's also really brilliant is that lots of people have cycled here on their bicycles, and one of the things that I really want to see is a coherent network of cyclable routes, really safe routes that are suitable for a year 6 child, so that's the last year of primary school, to be able to safely, independently get to school or travel around the city. Currently it's very disjointed, there's bits of investment here and it doesn't go to all connecting up the important places that people need to go to.
Exeter has a unique opportunity to be a model for green transport, but for transition in general. Safety, I think, is the number one issue for a lot of people. The evidence shows that where you provide safe cycle routes, particularly to schools for children, they're used very well. In Exeter, where you have decent cycle provision, like in the Valley Parks along the river, we have good levels of cycling, but still on our main arterial routes, it's low, and often that's because the cycle routes are a bit disjointed. They're not always joined up. They're a bit wiggly. They don't. Most people when they're going. One of the reasons I cycle is, many reasons, but one of the reasons I cycle is the quickest way of getting around. So I don't want to have to go zigzaggy all over the place and around the block. And there's been a reluctance by the county council to put these cycle superhighways on our main roads, which is, I think, what they should be doing. If you compare our performance and just what our city looks like compared with similar cities in the Netherlands or Germany, where you basically everyone is cycling. And when people say to you, "Oh, that won't happen in Exeter because of the hills," that's total rubbish.
I know that a future where many, many more people walk and cycle and fewer of us drive can appear frightening, particularly for retailers who think, "Well, how will my customers come to my shop?" But time and time again, we've seen, and research shows that people cycling to retail outlets often will spend more during the week. I've seen these cities and these towns that are economically vibrant, even though there are fewer cars there. It's a future to be embraced.
Critical mass, it's all about giving people an opportunity to experience freedom, whether that's on wheels, so it could be an e-scooter or a normal scooter or a mobility vehicle, or the bicycle. It's about giving us access to our roads and whatever vehicle we want to use, but it's also about people on foot. And one of the things about critical mass is that we're focusing on children, women and families, but the reality is that if you build for children, if you build for that 8-year-old, it actually works for all of us, however we choose to travel. So it's not about being anti-car, it's not about being all about cycling, it's about the equality of giving all of us an option on how we travel.
There are some people who will, of course, will still need to drive. But by emptying the roads of those people of us who can cycle, who can walk, it creates space for those who need to drive. So it's not a one and all thing. It's a rebalancing our road space and rebalancing how many of us travel.
Cycling, walking, using our green space, using these fantastic areas, what I love most about living here. And for me, the future of Exeter is in preserving these areas, extending them, allowing people to access them by walking, wheeling, cycling, using the bus, and being able to make them fit for a future that is going to be very different from what we have now, but one that can be hopeful if we choose it to be.
We could continue as we are, piling more cars into our roads, building up congestion, pollution, and burning our planet. Or we can embrace a different future, where we move differently, and where our city is shaped differently, and where we travel differently.